I was expecting to jump on today's show and talk all about all of the commitments for Boston College, but there aren't any that you know of yet. That still doesn't mean there's news to talk about.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. So, Week 1 of official visit season is in the books. There were 12 that we know of, recruits that checked out Boston College, and the names that we know of that committed are none. No one committed that we know of yet. But there's a caveat there. I said that we know of. Okay. On Sunday morning, there is at least one name that I know of it. I can't tell you. Unfortunately, it's part of my job that there is someone committed. It's someone that you guys are going to like at a position I think many people are hoping BC lands at. He has multiple Power 5 offers. He is a high-rising recruit. So there is good news. It's not all bad news that you don't know anything. Okay, so there's that. There's that player, and I can't tell you who it is, but hopefully we'll find out soon. I have to still get in touch with him to get his commitment date. Sometimes they can commit quite a while after they do their official visit, so we'll have to wait to see what happens there. There's also two other commitments associated to this weekend that have not announced yet. And we'll find out who those are in a little bit. So there is good news. Now, I talked to a lot of the recruits that were there. Deontay Lindsay of Oklahoma. I spoke with Micah Amity, who's already committed to BC. And the impression that I'm getting from this weekend is the energy around this staff. That they got, the kids have heard over and over again about the experience of Bill O'Brien's staff, what they could bring, the NFL experience, the college football experience. They've heard all of that, but they got a chance on a beautiful weekend. Like, if you could ask for any better weather, you couldn't, because in Boston, it was like 80, sunny. You guys, if you're a Boston College graduate, you remember those days at BC, how that campus glows when it's that weather. It was a perfect weather weekend to bring people on campus. So they got to see the staff. And I heard great things about defensive back coach Ray Brown and defensive line coach Jeff Commission and Bill O'Brien. Of course, Bill O'Brien's name came up a lot. And what the overall impression that I got from a lot of the recruits that were there when I talked to them is how personable he is, which is good, because this is a guy that's done this a long time. He worked for two coaches that weren't very personable, and Bill Belichick and Nick Saban. You could argue maybe some people might say they are. But at the college level, you have to be able to connect to kids. You got to be able to speak their language, be able to sell your vision to them in a way that they understand and get it. And O'Brien seems to be able to do that. Now, you're looking at a lot of these kids and you're going, whoa, AJ, why isn't more committed, right? So a good chunk, so there was 12 that were there. A good chunk of them are taking official visits elsewhere. And for many kids, and the ones I talked to, guys like there was Isaiah White that was there, and Aubrey Melvin, a defensive lineman from he's from Maryland, or Kadir Dembale. They all have multiple official visits. And for many of the kids, part of their process is that they want to take multiple official visits. They want to check out the other schools too. They want to make sure that they're making the right choice. So you do want to see kids go to that first visit and say, you know what, I've seen enough at Boston College. I'm done with let's cancel the rest of my vacation visits here. We're going to stick with BC. So they could also You could also argue that should have happened more, and I'd have a hard time arguing against that. And for historical perspectives, looking at this weekend, there's 3 commitments um, versus Jeff Halfley last year, and I think we can all say the last year was a down year for recruiting. Would you have 11 commitments, and most of them came near the end. There was a ton of decommitments. There was a ton of turnover, and who stuck with your group. There were 3 last year, and only one of those guys ended up staying. That was Dixon, Kamari Dixon, linebacker out of Pennsylvania. So it's similar to last year, and you can take that any way you want. Like, oh gosh, is it the same as Halfley? Is this any, whatever? What I'm going to say too, what I'm going to say that's important to remember is this was a good group that they had first. The fireworks are coming with some of these later groups, and I'll explain why one of these groups is going to be. It's not that big of a deal in a moment, but there are some groups coming in, and they did not get hammered with commitments elsewhere already that have some big names coming in and at their in specific positions that are going to be key here. And as I said before, if you didn't listen to Friday's episode, and if you didn't, for shame, go back and listen to it. We don't know what the quarterback situation is. That's still going to be a surprise that I would assume we're going to get an answer to in the next month, unless it's just Jay Beeman, the kid from Mississippi that's coming at the end of the month. That's the one quarterback that we know. But I've been told that there's going to be multiple quarterbacks coming on campus. They're keeping that locked tighter than Fort Knox right now. They don't want those names getting out. And you can make your assumptions on why that is. I can't say it, but I'm sure you could probably figure it out. But was this weekend a success? Yeah, it was a pretty good success. I would have liked to see a little bit more action on the commitment side, but it wasn't a giant. It wasn't a disaster. It wasn't like nothing happened. But in the moment, I'm going to get into some of the things that did happen on the other end of the coin, and we'll talk about how that impacts BC, who's heading elsewhere that were on their big board, and what's going on there. We'll get into all that in just a moment. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board, folks. It helps hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So you're missing out on them if you're not on LinkedIn. You could have your perfect candidate out there. And if you're not on LinkedIn, you'd never know they existed. So what you need to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black here. So this weekend was official visit season at Boston College, but it was also official visit season around the country as well. So many schools, most schools had official visitors this weekend, and just part of the process, many people that were on BC's big board were at other schools as well, and just part of the process again, and part of what happens. Some of them are going to commit. It's just what happens. Like you can't just go in and say every single person on their big board they're going to land because it's not that's not accurate because they can't land. I mean, I had like 55 players on their big board from guys I've talked to the staff about. B, they don't have enough. They don't have enough scholarships for that. And C, the honest realistic outcome here is there's going to be other schools that are going to get kids. They're going to be able to sell them a piece of something early that BC's not going to have a chance to get to. And for these kids now that I'm going to talk to you about, most likely it's the end of the road in recruiting for them because when you take an official visit somewhere and you commit, most programs, unless you're a blue blood, is asking that you don't take any more official visitors. There's special circumstances Like maybe the kid is a hometown kid and they want to give him a chance to see his hometown school as a favor to his high school coach or whatever. There's chances that stuff can happen, but for 99% of the time, it doesn't. Remember the case of Keondae Henry last year. He's a 4-star wide receiver. He goes and visits Purdue, and BC moves off of him because he took a visit. He also lied to the school, but that's how serious they take this. So these kids that I'm about to talk to about now, you can basically keep them off your board until later because they're gonna sit on their commitment probably for a while. They're not gonna just go and visit BC. And so these two are tough. The ones I'm going to talk about. The first is Jordan Houston, wide receiver, St. Thomas More in Connecticut. He was scheduled to visit BC this week, and he committed to Rutgers. He is, I believe, he was close to a 4-star wide receiver. He had offers from Penn State, Michigan. He had a good offer sheet. He went to visit Rutgers, and he left the Scarlet Knight. And that is a tough one to lose. Now, what I'm going to say here is, and I'm not doing my maroon and gold glasses on everything here. I promise you I'm not. BC, if you're going to look at one position that this group has a killer group coming in that is incredibly impressive, it's wide receivers. So in one sense, it stinks that you're losing another local kid to freaking Rutgers of all places. I don't know what Greg Schiano's selling down there. But on the other hand, you look at the official visitor list, and I got it up on Eagle Insider, of all the kids that are coming in the next 2 weeks at wide receiver, you got 4-stars. You got kids with SEC offers, and I would say you're in better shape with them than you were with Houston, because that's where Darrell Wyatt, wide receivers coach, that's his bread and butter down there. There's a lot of Texas kids coming down and Florida kids. That's where he does his best work. So yes, it stinks you lost one, and yes, you don't want to lose local kids, but it's not the end of the world. It's not doom and gloom. This is not a recruit that you lost and now all of a sudden your wide receiver depth chart or big board, excuse me, is completely shot to heck. It's not that way. It really isn't. So you would have loved to have had Jordan Houston. I'm not saying you didn't. And don't get in the comment section and say, AJ, you're just jealous. Look, you would want him. I get it. But this is something that Bill O'Brien and his staff, it's just part of the situation, and I think this is one that they can absorb. Another position that this one was even more shocking to me about a player committing elsewhere. This is probably the most of any name that if you were to tell me was going to commit after this first week, that would have surprised me. This one probably would have been top of the list, and that is offensive lineman Chris Vigna out of Bergen Catholic in New Jersey. Now, Chris was on campus at least once, possibly twice this spring, and I had heard all along that he was a heavy Boston College lean. Like I thought that he was going to end up at BC. He's scheduled to be at BC next weekend. I thought that was where they would seal the deal, and that would be it. Now Rutgers pushed hard at the end. They offered later. Schiano, he's in his backyard, so he had that little edge to him. Brings him in, he got him to commit. That one surprised me because I was like, "Whoa, okay." I thought Applebaum and that staff would be able to bring him in, but that's kind of the risk when you don't get a kid first week, right? Like you can't take 40 kids and bring them in week one, and there's factors that come into play when you're scheduling a kid for an official visit that are things that we don't know about and things that only a family and the school know about. There could be a reason why he wanted to stay in New Jersey that first week. We don't know what that is. But the fact remains that BC never got him on campus for an official visit, and they lost him because of it. Now, BC has told me, when I talked to the staff, they're going for 4 or 5 official visitors. So hopefully out of this first group, you're going to get one. But what's going to happen now, because you lost Vigna, is you're going to probably see another player enter the board, someone from around the country, and I'm telling you right now, like sometimes they are more developmental players, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just a player that might have just been a little lower than Vigna, and they just on their own board, but maybe they have better offer lists or whatever. They're going to probably look at some other names to bring in as well. Now that being said, will there be a commitment at offensive line soon? That's the big $1 million question, and I think hopefully you'll have some good news about that soon. But that was only the real bad news from the weekend are just those two. So you basically escaped your first official visit weekend with only two of your targets committing elsewhere. Both of them kind of stung, but that's not the worst. Like when that's the kind of guys that you're looking at, it's gonna happen. It's just part of the game. I saw someone saying that Matt Applebaum should be fired because of this. I'm like, hold on. There's a lot of cards still on the deck for for this recruiting class. We got to see how it plays out. It's a new head coach that's working things here. Let's see how the offensive line um, class ends up becoming, because it's going to be a big one. Let's see where it works out. But all in all, it's a couple stingers there. Nothing just catastrophic, though, I would say. Like, there's nothing that like the class is already ruined. But unfortunately, because also we don't know anything about, well, you guys don't know anything about who's committed yet, and I'm always in the mind frame. And I'm going to explain for a second. Hold on. AJ, take a step back here for a second. The reason I don't tell you if a kid, like, the name right off the bat, is it's a kid's moment. I'm not going to ruin a kid's moment. Like, they've worked their butts off to get to where they're at. Their biggest moment in their life at this point is to announce that they're going to go to a Power 5 program, a Power 4 program, and where they're going to go for college. There's people out there that will ruin it constantly, and I'm not that guy. I just can't do it. So, yeah, I know who the third kid is, and I'm not going to give it away until he announces it. It's just how I want to respect these kids' decisions, okay? So, unfortunately for you guys, you don't know who it is, and you're now gnashing your teeth going, we don't have any good news after this weekend. AJ, tell me something. So there's three. That's what you need to know. I think you're gonna be happy with most of it, right? Like, maybe one name will be a little bit more on the under recruited side, but the other two should be fine. Next week we'll have to see what happens with the others. So in our final segment, I want to talk a little basketball. There's basketball news that we're waiting to hear a finality on, and I want to get into why that is, and a group of fans from another program that can't stop talking about Boston College. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win on your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. It's Celtics time. Are you a Celtics fan? Do you think the Green Teamers are going to get number 18 this year, or the Mavs too much? I can't take Kyrie Irving. I can't do it. When he stomped on Lucky, as a Bostonian myself, that one killed me. So I'm hoping Celtics, and I'm going to follow them through this whole thing. I'm going to take the spread every game with the Celtics, go on money line every game. And you can too if you visit fanduel.com/locked-on and make every playoff shot count with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. And let's chat a little basketball to wrap things up today. There was no news in terms of that last recruiting spot. There's spot number 13, one Earl Grant didn't use last year that they have open, that they can grab somebody. I saw some interesting news that Armani Mighty, who left the team at the end of last year, is already decommitted from Buffalo. Not sure what that means or where he's heading, but that was just one little nugget I saw that I didn't get a chance to talk about on the website. But the bigger news is this mid-season tournament that BC is scheduled to play in as of earlier this year. And it was scheduled to be against Providence, UMass, and Temple. It was going to be at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. Looked like it was going to be a fun local tournament. But we got the news a couple of weeks ago that Providence is backing out because they're going to be in the Atlantis tournament. Atlantis is usually it's tropical and a gorgeous place to go, but it's usually also for a school like Providence, who's in a spot where they can do this. They're playing some high-end talent to help boost up their resume for postseason play. So now they're gone, and it's down to BC, UMass, and Temple. Now the buzz, and I haven't been able to confirm this. I've asked BC, I haven't heard back yet from them. The buzz is that BC is the next team to leave, that they've already left. And of course, with that possibly happening, you know what the next thing is going to happen. UMass fans are losing their ever bleeping mind because UMass fans feel like that BC is always dodging them, that BC is afraid of them. And I'm here to say, well, I don't think they're dodging them. I've said all along I love seeing BC play UMass, and I'm not gonna um, deny that. I think they're right. Like I love to. I've always been on the show a big fan of local teams. I would much rather see BC play local teams, and you can stratify it any way you want to see the good teams that are local, and then mix in the cakewalk wins. But I'd rather see the local teams. So I get that point, but I don't think BC's dodging. I think what we're seeing here is that this tournament without Providence doesn't have any star power. It doesn't really have much. Um, it's not going to have any interest in it, and I think BC's just doing the right thing and just looking around to find something else. Like, what are you going to get out of playing UMass, Providence? And I heard like, the last team would be like an American East team. Like, what does that do for BC? It doesn't put eyeballs on them at all. It doesn't do anything recruiting wise. It doesn't do anything RPI wise. It doesn't do it. It literally does nothing. It just gives you 2 games on your schedule. So in that sense, I get it. Like if you can schedule a tournament or get into a tournament, and we haven't heard any of. I can't confirm this has actually happened. I can tell you what I've heard. That if they find something else that they get to go play in Bahamas or whatever, that's much better in terms of like selling to recruits. Hey, we played a tournament in Bahamas. Then, hey, we played a tournament in Connecticut. Like you can use that, right? So I love UMass's fans because they have such a, a complex, like a Napoleon complex with BC. Like they get so mad at Boston College for not playing them that and it's not just like a few on Twitter. It is a lot of fans. They just get so mad that BC won't play them. And in one sense, I want to see them play again, but on another, I love watching UMass fans blow up like this. So keep doing it. Just keep ignoring them. Keep if you don't want to play them, then don't play them. But that was the one little piece of basketball news. Now, what's really funny about this episode? Last night on Sunday, I was waiting for commitments to happen, for a name to drop so I could go live and talk about it. Nothing happened. I woke up this morning. My 3-year-old woke me up at like 4:30 because she climbed into bed and then I couldn't sleep. So then at like 5:10, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go record because I have a lot to talk about. Now we're at 3 days a week now in June, and believe me, I need my 3 days a week. I need to go back down a little bit. However, I'm expecting to hear about one of the commitments probably today, possibly two. So there's a good chance I'm going to come live tomorrow. We're going to go on for Tuesday too. So make sure on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast, you got this ready because I'm going to talk about who these players are, what they mean to BC, give you all the good details. And you're only going to find that here at Locked On Boston College, your team every day.